Shh, very quiet.
Bismillah. Bismillah.
Assalamu alaikum and good evening, everyone. Welcome to BAMBAR's series, Journey to Allah's House, A Family Affair. My name is Sister Naeemah Khabir, or Hajjah Naeemah Khabir, for this series. Today is Sunday, June 25th, 2023, or the 7th of Dhul-Hijjah, 1444 after Hijrah. This is our fourth installment of this series. We are so excited to have the guest that we have today here. We're also excited to have Hajjah Jamilah Bashir, who is a BAMBAR member, who will be hosting this evening. Everyone, please remember, if you have any questions for our guests, to type them in the comment section. And I am going to turn over to Hajjah Jamilah F. Bashir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. As Naeemah said, I am here and I am a BAMBAR member. I'm very excited to host this fourth installment, being as though I've made Hajj myself. I know that today's guests, I can't wait to just hear their stories and just hear what, about their overall experience. So I'm going to introduce our guests for today. We have Brother Haji Mansur Blackman and Sister Hajjah Hanifah Lum. Did I pronounce your last name correct? Awesome, awesome, awesome. So as always, I just want us to start off with how did you guys come into Islam?
Assalamu alaikum. Both of our parents, converted to Islam. I just speak for my family. My mother and father came to Islam when they were, I think, in their mid-20s or so. My mom is from Philadelphia. I have a decent amount of family in Philadelphia. And that's where she came to Islam. And my dad's from Jamaica, Queens, New York. Converted to Islam in New York. Basically been Muslim my life, kind of the theme of the group, I guess. I think just the communities that they were part of really pushed them to try to inculcate, Islam into their lives, more fully. And I think a lot of that benefit kind of got passed on to, myself and being able to be raised as Muslim.
All right.
Alaikum. As he was saying, my parents as well converted to Islam in their late teens. I believe my parents were 17 and 18 when they converted, and they later got married and had me. I've been born and raised Muslim since then. And they're both born and raised in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Okay, alhamdulillah. So what year did you guys make Hajj? How old were you guys?
We made Hajj in
2015.
2015, yeah.
All right.
I was 25 and she 23.
23, yeah.
Okay. Did you guys go with a group, or was it just you went just yourselves?
Yeah, we, I guess, made the intention to just go, and we kind of just found a group after that, and we went with a group called Adam Travel. I guess that's the company, right? It does the travel agency. So they have an office in Detroit, and Dearborn, I guess, more specifically. But they're like a national, organization. So they had some of the local imams from the Detroit metro area, where we live now. We live in Detroit. It was a decent sized group. They had actually several groups from that travel agency go with us for that Hajj trip. I think there were probably 4 or 5 separate groups that one travel agency had. So it's a pretty big organization that was organizing the trip.
Okay, cool. So growing up, did you have like a solid understanding of the 5 pillars of Islam and understanding the importance of Hajj? Was there any like Hajis or Hajjas in your family or in your community that went and that kind of sparked, your interest to go as well?
I would say, like, yeah, I did have a pretty good understanding of the 5 pillars growing up, but I felt like it just kind of seemed like when it came to Hajj, that was kind of just like a far away type of thing that you would do as an adult. It wasn't really something that I thought I would be doing so early in life. It was really more of him like deciding that for us, like taking the lead that we should do this before we have kids. And since we already have the money, it's like good to like do that now before life gets in the way kind of thing. And my stepfather who raised me, he actually went on Hajj twice. So I was like exposed to that through him.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad went on Umrah, and my mom actually went on Hajj. I think like 2 or 3 years before I went, because she actually lived in Saudi Arabia for a while, so she had a few more opportunities to make Hajj. But that was the first time that she went, was a few years ago, and she was, I think, in her 60s. So alhamdulillah, I did have some family members that were able to go. But yeah, definitely, I think it was just in my mind, kind of arbitrarily, okay, try to get married, okay, married, try to go to Hajj, and so I just try to do that. And I think it was really more just making the intention first, like I said, and I didn't specifically have money set aside for it initially, honestly, and then kind of opportunities came up to just do some more work and some more overtime. We were actually living in because I was doing a launch project for work, and we were launching a vehicle at the time, so it was a lot more overtime for like a period of like 8 months. So it really made it pretty easy financially, just because of the situation that we were in at that particular time. So yeah, alhamdulillah, it worked out well.
Alhamdulillah. So would you say, was Hajj like promoted in like your community? Like, was there other individuals or other couples or families like in your community going as well? Like, I know in some cities it's like a big thing, whereas others it may not. Was that something you experienced?
Because we're both kind of transplants from Indianapolis, and we live in Detroit now. So I would say in Indianapolis, it wasn't really promoted, I would say. I mean, obviously everybody's aware of it. There's a decent sized Muslim community there, but there's not, I wasn't aware of the events like they have here in Detroit, where after we came back from Hajj, there was a mention that they had like a big dinner for us and kind of like, honored the people that went on Hajj and stuff like that. So kind of really promoting it and getting people excited about it, stuff like that, celebrating it. But I kind of think of the Indianapolis community as it's also decent size, but it doesn't have the same kind of volume as the Detroit community does. So maybe you'd see the same thing there in a few years. But I think right now, just there's so much, as far as the Black Muslim history, the immigrant influence in Detroit, the Southeast Michigan area, it's just, there's a much larger, more developed community here. So I think definitely here I've seen it, and I've seen other events that are like promoting Hajj. And then obviously, like I said, the travel agency that we went with was based out of here. And I don't think there's anything, kind of similar to that in Indianapolis. So definitely a lot here that's promoted.
I mean, even like, oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like,
go ahead.
even like after we made Hajj, like there were like parties and like dinners to celebrate the returning Hajjis. So that was like a really nice experience, because I had never even heard of anything like that, prior to making Hajj. But that's like a regular thing that they do here in the Detroit community. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like you guys kind of touched on this, like, as far as like, when did you get serious about making Hajj? You said you felt like Mansur kind of led that, but like, what age did you like really start to think like, okay, I think I want to make Hajj, or at least let me make my intention now because it's on my mind to do?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was like probably a year before we went. So yeah, I guess like 24 or something like that. We got married the year before, actually. So we got married in 2014 and went Hajj in 2015. So yeah, I mean, it's just trying to. I'm more kind of objective oriented, trying to tick boxes, I guess. To in a way of saying, but she seems like one of those main, very well-defined objectives, like, okay, you can go get this done when you have a chance to, and if you have a chance, go ahead and do it. So it seemed like we had the opportunity, so we went ahead and tried to do it.
Yeah, yeah. And you also touched on this as well. You said like at that time, it was a lot of overtime for you to do to save. So would you say that it was easy for you to save for Hajj for the both of you? And I know Hajj costs way less back then than it does now. So would you feel that it was easy for you to save? Did you get any? And when you make your intentions for Hajj, you know how money just comes out of nowhere sometimes. Like, so do you feel like it was easy? Did you get any assistance or anything?
Yeah, we didn't get, assistance as far as like somebody, saying, oh, you go on Hajj, let's help you out, something like that. But yeah, like I said, there was a lot of opportunities to just make more money, kind of doing the same stuff that I normally do. I work as an engineer, so like I said, we were launching a vehicle, and we were living in Toronto at the time, so we were just basically spending a lot more time doing work just in general because we were away from home. And so just, the opportunity just kind of made itself a lot easier. So I didn't realize that was what was going to happen, because that's the first time I've been on an assignment like that. But as it turned out, it was a very good opportunity to go make Hajj. Yeah, because back then, I think for the both of us, we did like the quad package. It was like we weren't actually together most of the time, but we were both in rooms with like, 3 other people, right? So it was like, I think the 2 of us together was like $15,000. And yeah, I know it's gone up since then, and they've changed the whole process. So I guess that's the other thing, is that, you don't know when you're actually going to have the opportunity to go, because obviously shortly after that, we had the whole COVID thing, and then they changed the whole lottery process, and now you don't even know if you're going to be able to go if you have the money. So yeah, you just gotta, I'm glad to be able to take the opportunity that comes up, even if you don't realize the opportunity is there. If you just make the intention, right? Sometimes the opportunity presents itself afterwards. So
yeah, that's very true. That's very true. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that you truly don't know a person until you travel with them. So making Hajj your wife, what did you guys learn about each other as you guys traveled together for Hajj?
That's a good question. I don't know. I would say it more like showed me, like solidified like his leadership skills, like with him like taking charge, kind of just trying to lead me and protect me in different situations that you go through on Hajj. So just kind of like pushing me, because there were certain points where I was just like really exhausted, and I just kind of didn't want to keep going, but I'd say that's what it solidified for me, or what it showed.
Yeah. I mean, it was because it's really it was a particularly stressful experience, because that was actually the year that they had a large stampede, and they, some news outlets said it was like, I think the official count was like 600 people died, and other news outlets say it was over 2,000 people. And that was on the 10th of Dhul-Hijjah, when we were leaving from Muzdalifah. I think we had actually passed that spot at the Jamarat earlier in the day, and we didn't even realize till like later that night what had happened, because we were so busy. But yeah, at that point we were able to try to call parents and call family and stuff like that, and tell them we were okay. So just being able to see how each other kind of behave and respond under stress, I think was a big part of that experience, and seeing that we're both pretty, I'd say, calm people, and didn't really get too rattled by that, alhamdulillah. So being able to kind of experience that with each other, I think was a big takeaway. Sorry about all the noise.
It's okay. Hey, it's family. So was there a part of the Hajj where you guys bonded the most? Like, what was a part of Hajj where you guys bonded the most? What part of Hajj did you feel was most difficult for you guys?
Yeah, I say maybe the Hajj part itself. I mean, you just doing so much stuff. It's hard to you're not really, at least in my experience, we weren't really spending too much time with each other. But I'd say like being able to spend time in Medina before it, that was probably a good bonding experience, as it's such a relaxing place. And, the whole, I didn't really, I heard people talk about it before I went, that it was like, Mecca and Medina are so different, but when I experienced it myself, I definitely co-sign that thinking, it's such a different atmosphere. Medina is so much more relaxed, and there's just like a tranquility there.
Sure is.
And then in Mecca, obviously it has, even more blessing, but the feeling is a lot more different. It's very like, all right, you got to get this and that done. And, it's going to be difficult to do all those things. There's going to be a lot of people, and they might not necessarily be nice people. So, yeah, I'd say the time in Medina was a good kind of bonding experience for us.
Okay. What advice do you have for other couples who are thinking about making Hajj together? What advice do you have for them? Or do you have any advice if you already have children? How do you prepare your children for, for the parents getting ready to leave to go make Hajj? What advice do you have?
So I would advise people to make Hajj before they have kids, just because it's a lot less stressful. You don't have to worry about childcare or having to, wean or pump. You're breastfeeding. You don't have to worry about, just that extra cost of having to secure childcare or place them with family and deal with all of that. It's just, I know it's really stressful dealing with that for a lot of people, but it's definitely doable, even if you do have kids. But I would say if you do have kids and you want to make Hajj, that you just have to be creative. I would say, like, make the intention and being creative that you want to.
Okay.
Hey, yeah, come on, serious.
Making the intention and being creative that you want to go on Hajj.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I can see that you're like definitely go before you have kids.
Yeah. And I know like a couple that we went with, they actually had 4 kids that were in our Hajj group, and they brought their kids on the plane and dropped them off in another country and then met us back on Hajj.
Wow.
So they dropped their kids off with their family in, I forget what country, but they dropped them off in whatever country it was, and then they joined us on Hajj. And then they actually went on like their own vacation at the end, just them two. But that was like, I thought that was like a really, good idea for them to like do that. And no one in our group had kids. Like no one had brought any kids with them on Hajj, except when we were in, what is the tents? Mina, yes, Mina. There was one woman who had a baby with her, and like a 2-year-old, and I was like, yeah, I would never have done that, but shout out to her. But yeah.
Mansur, did you want to add anything onto that, or you agree?
As far as sorry, what was the question?
The question was, would you recommend going on Hajj before you have children? And then what advice do you have for just any married couples who are thinking about Hajj together?
Yeah, obviously your situation kind of dictates what's possible, but yeah, I think it's simpler if you do it before you have kids, but obviously for a lot of people, it's like later in life, it becomes easier financially. So you kind of balance it, I think. I think if we had to do it over again though, maybe we would have put more thought into like the group that we went with.
Right.
Because the group that we went with, we made good friends, and we see, there's a lot of people that are in the same community that we're in now. So we see them pretty often. But I guess if we went with like a Black Muslim group, we might have, bonded more with them a little bit. There's some level of like a language barrier a lot of times. Even in like the orientation for the Hajj trip before we went, there was like this tension of whether they should give the instruction in Arabic or English, and then they were like going back and forth and that kind of stuff.
Like literally, they said that they were going to do it in English, and then people got mad and were like, no, we want it in Arabic. So they switched the orientation over to Arabic. And actually, like, a sister got mad, a Black sister got mad and just left.
Yeah.
And then there was a sister that was sitting next to me that was translating for me, but it was so distracting that I really couldn't
Concentrate.
understand. Yeah. So I was just like, wow, this is okay. But yeah.
Wow. That's very interesting. So
Yeah.
you guys definitely recommend going with a group, but definitely researching what group you go with.
Yeah, as much as you
Yes.
can. Obviously,
Yes.
it's some level it's like out of your control, but if you have the opportunity, financially, as far as childcare situation, there's like 20 things you got to have, right? If you can, just one more thing to add to the list is like, okay, what's kind of the demographics of the group that you're going with? And obviously, it's like if you find somebody who's not Black and they're going and everything else lines up, don't let that be what stops you. But it is something that impacts the experience, I think, as far as if you feel like there's some cultural kind of differences between the folks that are in your group. But like I said, alhamdulillah, it was still a great experience. And like I said, we did make, good friends from that experience. It's just, we kind of wondered, in retrospect, like what would have been the experience if we went with a, larger black group, maybe off the East Coast, something like that. But yeah, alhamdulillah.
Okay. So do you guys have any family or any people in your community who are thinking about going Hajj? Are you encouraging them, siblings, or just like any like friends or acquaintances?
I kind of try to, but it's kind of feels like one of those things where I don't know. I guess it's kind of a weird conversation to have. It's like, hey, go do this thing that costs a bunch of money, and you. So I don't know. So I haven't figured out a good way to have the conversation, but I have mentioned it to a few people. Like especially when I know, like, okay, you got a good job and you're in a good space or whatever, or y'all just got married and you don't have kids, something like that. So I just try to mention it, but it's something that I think it's on everybody's list. It's just a matter of prioritizing and try to figure out, okay, I'm actually going to make the intention to go and on this year specifically, and not just like 5 years from now or something. I mean, even if it is 5 years from now, right? As long as you actually keep it to 5 years and it doesn't just like extend every year to 5 more years, something like that. So I try to have some of those conversations, but it's everybody has their own situation. So I recognize that I only have so much knowledge of everybody's individual situation. So I don't want to feel like I'm trying to push somebody to do something that's really not possible for them. So
okay,
it's another kind of balancing act, I think.
All right. We have a question from the audience. They said, considering inflation, how much money should one have saved for Hajj? And they may have came in a little later. They want to know how much was the Hajj in 2015, and just with inflation, how much money should one have saved for Hajj today?
Because when we went in 2015, like I said, we went with like I mean, there's a pretty wide variety from what I saw as far as the different packages. So what we did was like a 3-week package, and we did the quad package. So what that means was like, obviously we're there for 3 weeks, and then we didn't have like individual rooms, or we didn't have a couple's room or anything like that. We were each, like I was with 3 other dudes, and then she was with 3 other women. But I guess nowadays, honestly, I haven't looked at the prices too much recently. But I'd imagine, I don't even want to really guess because I don't know, but I'm sure it's more than what it was then, but it's just gonna keep going up. So I think it kind of goes back to what we were saying before. You can't go by yourself, right? Like you have to actually go through an authorized like Hajj travel agency or like somebody that's certified by the Saudi, government, right? So if you kind of start there and then get a feel for like, okay, what are they charging, for their packages, and what kind of packages do they offer? Because sometimes they offer like 5, 6 of them, and you got to figure out which one's right. Because the one that we went with was the 3-week, but they also offered a 2-week. And I think from what I remember, the 2-week was actually more expensive because you got more demand for that, because that's what fits into people's schedule a lot more. So it's a lot of little stuff like that can impact the price of it. And obviously, if you're willing to be in a room with a bunch of random people, essentially, it's going to lower the price a bit more too. You don't necessarily need to be together. So yeah, I mean, just maybe the first starting point is really just identifying hey, who could I realistically see myself going to Hajj with, right? Like, are there 4 or 5 different groups that I could, think that could work with me, or is it really just one group in the area? And if I go, it's going to be with them. So I might as well just figure out what they offer and what it costs and then go from there. So that would be my recommendation, I'd say.
Okay, thank you. Did you guys take dua books with you when you made Hajj?
I didn't have a book, but I think I made like a Facebook status, and I was actually like, I just had it on my phone. I was just kind of going through people's messages and making those duas. And I think honestly that was a benefit for me as well, just because it helps to kind of focus you a bit. Because like on the day of Arafah, I mean it's a whole day, so you kind of have lulls, I think, in like the energy. So it's like, all right, so I can at least knock out, these 30, 40 duas that people wanted me to make, and that gives you a way to kind of focus your energy, and then maybe going through the duas for them, you kind of come up with some ideas for yourself and stuff like that. So I think it's it's beneficial for the person that's going, as well as obviously for the people that are making a request.
Yeah, I did the similar thing with people messaging me, and I just would go through their messages that I had on my phone, and I also like thought of people that had asked me and made dua for them. Even if I didn't remember the specific request, I would like mention them by name. So yeah, that's what I did.
This question is for each of you. What is your most memorable moment of your Hajj?
Positive or negative?
You can do both. You can do both.
I could say positive. I mean, just for me, the first night that we were in Mina, actually, it was obviously really hot, and actually the power went out. So it got more hot because they didn't have AC in the tents. It was basically just fans, and now obviously the fans weren't working either. So it just got it was really, really uncomfortable. But then suddenly it just started raining like really hard, and then the power came back on, and then it was just it was another one of those just really peaceful kind of situations. Like I just remember like struggling to get to sleep, and then when that happened, I just went to sleep immediately. So that was a really positive experience. The other thing that is, I'd also go back to Medina again, just being able to go up on the roof. I don't know if women are allowed to go on the roof or not, or if that's the thing. I didn't see any women up there, but that was just a really peaceful place, and it's like even the masjid itself on the main level is really, really beautiful. Then on the roof of it, it's kind of a different atmosphere as well. So that was something I really enjoyed as well.
All right, Hanifah.
I would say the most positive moment for me was being in Medina. Like it was just like really peaceful and clean, and it was just a really nice experience. Just being able to and also the weather there seemed to be much better. Yeah, I really enjoyed just being in Medina. And then also seeing the Kaaba for the first time was a really great experience. Like it was wow, I'm actually seeing the Kaaba. So yeah, that was a nice experience. Positive. most positive, memorable experience.
All right, positive. So Mansur, when you saw the Kaaba for the first time, how was that for you?
Yeah. I mean, that was definitely a great experience too. Which kind of reminds me, going back to what you were saying before. Like I think one of the hangups a lot of people have is what they should go to Umrah or Hajj first. And I guess from my experience, the Umrah, it doesn't really give you any advantage in terms of preparing you for Hajj. I mean, because it's such a Umrah is like a 3-4 hour thing, right? Hajj is like several days and like intensely physically demanding experience. So I would say if that's kind of something that people are battling with, I would say to prioritize going to Hajj, because that is what's actually fought if you have the ability to go. But again, it goes back to what is your situation specifically. But I wouldn't let the unfamiliarity of the Middle East or something like that, because that was the first time either of us have really traveled. I mean, we've been to Canada, but other than that was the first time we've been out of the country. So yeah, I mean, I think that's something that you shouldn't you shouldn't, like, oh, I can't go to Hajj. I haven't seen the Kaaba yet or something like that, or I haven't even been over there before. So, but yeah, I mean, that was a very powerful experience to go through of seeing the Kaaba for the first time in person. They definitely have really beautiful architecture there, and you see, I mean, all the construction kind of takes away from it a little bit, but it's still really beautiful. That was actually the year that even before Hajj, they had a big crane that fell over and actually killed a bunch of other people. So yeah, it was a lot going on that year, but actually that crane was still on the ground. It's so big that they couldn't get it out of there in time. So they just kind of like sectioned it off, and you just, obviously couldn't go over there, but yeah, that was a great experience as well.
All right. Do you guys have any final thoughts that you want to share? Any last pieces of advice that you want to share, whether for married couples out there? You guys, have you seen any of your du'as? Did you feel that they were manifested? Yeah.
I guess my advice would be for anyone in general to, if you're a person that is, what's the word? If you don't exercise, you should definitely start exercising before you go on Hajj, because like even my own dad, he warned me, he was like, you need to start walking. Like you need to start walking. And I kept blowing it off. Like I didn't really feel like doing that. And I really regretted that once I, even after, because we did Hajj Tamattu, which is when you do Umrah before the Hajj. And yeah, I was definitely feeling it after I did the Umrah. So in the Umrah, I would say like physically it does warm you up for doing the Hajj, but it definitely isn't really comparable to like all of those days and things that you have to do to actually complete your Hajj. But yeah, that's like one of my main advice that I would give to like anybody that wants to go on Hajj, is to at least, start getting your steps in, walking, running, just like try to start being more fit, more healthy. It'll help you. Yeah, leading a healthier lifestyle, especially if you have any type of health conditions. Like I would say, try to start managing any of those health conditions before going, because like there was even I definitely saw like multiple people on Hajj that you could tell that they were dealing with like different health issues, and that it was making their Hajj really difficult for them, and it was like affecting other people that had to like assist them. So just like one of the things that comes to mind.
Mansur.
As far as closing thoughts, I guess, I mean, it's a really, really powerful experience. I think one of the big parts of the experience was just how many people there are, right? Like there's bigger gatherings, I think, in the world, but when you combine it with the fact that everybody has to be doing all these specific tasks at the same time all together, I don't think there's really anything that's like comparable to it, right? Like you might have a big music festival where everybody kind of stands in one area and listens for like a few days, but it's not like you're all listening to a concert and then you walk 30 miles somewhere else and listen to another concert and then you walk back, right? It's like all of the actions that you're doing, they're really making an experience like, unlike any other. And obviously we know the significance of it just religiously, but just from like just a people watching experience. I mean, it's just so much that goes on there that you really can't think about or imagine before you get there and realize, seeing people. I mean, that's one of the things that I did at Mina for a little bit. It's like you're literally in a place with Muslims from every place in the world, and you can just kind of wander around and look at the people in the different tents from the different parts of the different continents, different countries of the world. So it's just a really incredible experience, and definitely try to figure out, what's realistic for you as far as trying to get over there and make it. If it's not something that you've prioritized up to this point, try to get it on your board or make it priority for you, right? If you don't normally do any long-term planning for stuff, make this the one thing that you do have a long-term plan for. So I think that'd be pretty much it.
All right, we have some questions coming in from the audience. Have you seen any of your duas manifest?
I don't remember my dua.
Me either. I don't remember any. I was too stressed out and worried about if I'm doing things right.
I think one of the things that made me, in addition to having the request from other people to make dua, just seeing all of the people who were there, and how intensely they were, having so many people around you, in tears, really kind of just pleading with Allah for their duas. It kind of just inspires you as well to feel like, you got to capitalize on that opportunity, talking specifically about Arafah. But yeah, I mean, some specific stuff, I honestly can't really remember. I mean, well, actually, no, I mean, so I think one of the duas I made was for kids. So we have 3 kids now. So
Oh yeah, I think
Alhamdulillah. Someone else is asking, if you could change anything about your journey, what would it be?
I feel like I would have switched the group that we went with, just because I felt like I think we were the only African Americans in our group. And you just feel kind of underrepresented, like you just don't feel, not marginalized, I think that's the wrong word, but because everyone was actually like really nice to us, and like everyone was really friendly. There was definitely like a sense of like sisterhood bonds that I had formed with some of the women there, like that I was rooming with. But I just I don't know. I just kind of wished I had, didn't have to deal with like language barriers or like different like cultural issues. Like I remember a sister made a comment about my hair that I was rooming with that was just like weird, So, just stuff like that. So, when people aren't necessarily familiar with your culture.
I remember one of the sisters that was in our group was talking to her, and she was like, "Oh, where are you from?" And she's like, "We're African American." It's like, okay, where in Africa specifically?
Yeah.
Just like,
yeah, they were like, you're like, oh, you're like, what country in Africa? They were like, they just could not understand like what I meant by African American,
like,
or like Black American.
Like, yeah, there was a transatlantic slave trade some time ago, and we were kind of caught up in that. And it's like, how much of a history lesson you want to go through? But like I said, it wasn't a negative experience, but just looking back on it, if there was a place that could be improved, because I think, like I said, we only made the intention like the year before, so we really didn't do that much research into what are all the different groups that we could have potentially gone with. So I think if we would have given ourselves like 2 years or something to research it, we might have figured out, oh, we could go with this other group out of Atlanta or out of Philadelphia or whatever. But alhamdulillah, it's not a regret, but if there was a place for improvement, I think that's where it will be, and we both kind of agree on.
I would also add, like, when you're in Saudi, like when you're on Hajj and you're wanting to like do different excursions or like shopping or just like go out, like, to just like do things, I would say like if you have your male guardian that came with you, make sure you take them with you, because I had like a couple of negative incidents with men on Hajj. So I would say if you don't have to go out alone, then don't.
Absolutely. Another question from the audience. Do you desire to perform another Hajj, or would you prefer Umrah?
I went back for Umrah. I didn't take her.
I was breastfeeding. She was really young at that time, and I was like, no, okay, I'm good. Yeah.
But Umrah is, like I said, it's a lot more, it's a lot chiller, it's a lot more relaxing, much less of a time commitment as well as financially. So yeah, I mean, definitely that's something I'd like to I don't know when I would want to do it again, but yeah, I mean, we can go together next time. But I think specifically the reason that I went on that Umrah group kind of goes back to the whole thing we've been talking about as far as the group that you go with, because one of my coworkers is actually leading the group, and he was putting together a package for it, and I was like, oh yeah, man, might as well. And it was over like the New Year's, Christmas vacation, so it was like I already had the time off work anyway, so it's kind of all just lined up for me. Like, yeah, let me just go ahead and go. But yeah, definitely totally different experience going to Umrah. And so you get to enjoy the place a lot more. I think we did a bit more sightseeing because you didn't have so many other constraints on, where you needed to be and when and stuff like that. So,
Yeah. All right, this is the last question from the audience. What can Muslim communities and masjids do to help interested men and women prepare for Hajj?
I would say like doing like at least, like the yearly Hajj programming where they talk about Hajj and why we do it and, actually like prioritizing, like sending the message that Hajj should be something to be prioritized. I feel like I recently saw like a status or some meme or something where it was just like basically talking about how you see a lot of Muslims taking a lot of like vacations and trips, but they're not making any priority or trip to try and go on Hajj or Umrah type of thing. So I thought that was like important, to like keep in mind. It's nothing wrong with traveling because, we love traveling, but it's just at the same time, you kind of have to, just keep things balanced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
the masjid that we live near here, they have a Hajj class like every week actually. And I know I've heard like in some Muslim countries like Malaysia, like that's a part of their like school curriculum is like training for, Hajj and Umrah and how to perform the different parts of it. I mean, I guess even most other Islamic schools here, they at least have a few weeks where they'll talk about it, But yeah, I mean, it's I think that from what I've seen, a lot of the masajid do a pretty good job of encouraging it, especially, around the Hajjah time and talking about, all of the blessings of Hajj. But yeah, it just goes back to, it is kind of a very difficult thing, right, for a lot of people. Like we talked about, I mean, sometimes financially is kind of like the least difficult thing because there's so many other things that have to line up, right? Like there has to be no global pandemic. There has to be, some lottery system in place that will actually allow you to go. You have to have the right situation as far as getting just transportation there, right? Like if you're in a small town, just logistically getting from your house to an airport and getting over to, Saudi Arabia is difficult, even if you have the money sometimes. So, there's just a lot that goes into it, but I think it all goes back to just making that intention. So, and then everything else can, kind of go from there. Like you can't say without making the intention and the effort that you can't do it because you don't actually know that you can do it. Even if you think that you have everything in place to do it, you might find out that you can't, right? So if it can go one way, then it goes the other way too, right? So you really don't know that it's not possible until you actually try. So just make the intention, make the effort, inshallah, it works out.
Go ahead, Naeem.
I think Mansur just answered my question.
Oh.
We did BAM administration. We actually did a poll. We love polls and we did a poll. It had to be maybe 2 years old now going on. And we were asking people, the poll was, did you perform, Hajj Qiran or Hajj Tamatu? Did you do Umrah only? Have you done both? And I told Mukhtara, I said, what I noticed is that there were a lot of women. Now the group is predominantly women, but there were a lot of women who had performed either Hajj and or Umrah. And there were some brothers in there too for the Umrah, but we didn't see a lot of brothers for the Hajj. And so I wanted to ask Mansur, what encouragement, what advice would you give to the brothers, brothers, anybody who's watching, but specifically in the group?
I mean, I think it's a lot easier for brothers to go, honestly, because they got for women, you got to have some kind of mahram with you, or you got to have like written, I don't know, permission from them or something like that. So, I mean, obviously, if just to get something written is not too difficult, but there's just more concerns there. So, I think if you're a brother that's in a position, like I said before, just start with the intention and the effort, right, and figure out what the groups are that makes sense for you. Figure out what they're talking about as far as pricing, right? And if you're just one person trying to go by yourself, it gives you a lot more flexibility, right? You don't have to coordinate with anybody else's schedule. You have a lower price, right? You have fewer accommodations to worry about going over there. So, you know, just start with the intention, inshallah.
I just want to thank you guys. And also I want to just share a tip. If you are going with a group and they have a package, I highly recommend doing Medina after you make Hajj, because it's just like the ease of Medina after you make Hajj. Like I felt like my body got beat up, and it was like,
Yeah.
Right.
you know, it was just like, oh my God, it's so peaceful here. It's so nice. It's so serene.
Yeah.
They're so nice.
We did the opposite, but I would agree with you. I think that probably would have been better to go
Right.
after, because we stayed in Mecca for like a week after,
Okay.
which was nice, but it's like it would have been more relaxing to have been in Medina at that time.
Yeah.
So.
Medina is so beautiful. And so, like when you were talking about, I'm like, yes, Medina was so peaceful and so nice.
Yeah.
Yes. But thank you, Hanifah and Mansur, for joining us and sharing your experiences. Thank you to all the viewers. Please remember to follow BAMBAR's pages, follow Girls Gone Hajj pages, and tune in for the next episode. It's going to be Tuesday, correct, Naeemah?
Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Yep, that's our last installment. Inshallah, wrapping up the series. It's also the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah. So we're encouraging everyone to fast. We know the hadith where the Prophet ﷺ told us that the fast on the day of Arafat, which is the 9th of Dhul-Hijjah, is an expiation for the sins committed in the previous year as well as the upcoming year. So it's an opportunity to gain tremendous reward. And although that 9th of Dhul-Hijjah is where the pilgrims will be standing on Arafat making their dua, there's nothing stopping us, those of us who are not making Hajj, from also making dua. That's a blessed day. Allah frees many people from the hellfire on that day. So take advantage, inshallah.
Yeah, shukran again, and assalamu alaikum.
Thank you.
Walaikum assalam. Thank you.
Thank you.